Hello, welcome back to another breaking news update. My name is Jimmy Boyd, and you were watching Boyd News. I want to thank you so much for tuning in today. I've got an update for you regarding a story that we went over just a few days ago. We had two underwater data sea cables that were severed in the Baltic Sea, one of them running from Germany over to Finland, also another one coming from Sweden over to Lithuania, and they were both cut around the same time. And we had a Chinese commercial ship known as the Yi Peng 3. This is a bulk carrier that was supposedly coming from Russia, docked at a port for about 3 days, and it was carrying fertilizer, came out of a port from Russia into the Baltic Sea, and there was reports that this ship may have been involved, and right now it is off the coast of Denmark, and the Danish Navy is currently holding this ship and trying to investigate the situation as they believe that this ship had something to do with these two underwater data sea cables that were cut. So I have an update now that apparently they are suspected of deliberately dragging an anchor under the water for upwards of 100 miles, destroying these two cables, okay? So we're going to talk more about this today, and I also have an update for you guys as well regarding a German intelligence chief. He apparently is warning that Russian hybrid attacks such as this, if Russia does have something to do with this, could lead to NATO invoking Article 5. So that's some very big news because there is a lot of what I guess we could consider hybrid sabotage attacks that have been happening inside of Europe. We also have that story regarding the DHL cargo aircraft that crashed inside of Lithuania just a few days ago. So we're going to be talking more about this today. I've got several updates we're going to be going over. So let's go ahead and dive right into the news here. We're going to start off with this report from The Verge. And it says here a Chinese ship is suspected of sabotaging undersea cables. And it says Western investigators reportedly think Russia might be behind the destruction. And it says here a Chinese commercial ship is suspected of deliberately dragging its anchor to cut undersea cables that connects countries over the internet, the Wall Street Journal reports. International investigators reportedly believe that the crew aboard Yi Peng 3, a bulk carrier full of Russian fertilizer, dragged its anchor for more than 100 miles across the Baltic seabed, damaging the cables that run across it. Two different internet links, one between Sweden's Gotland Island and Lithuania, and another between Finland and Germany. It stopped working earlier this month, prompting the investigation by authorities from all four countries and other nations, according to the journal. Okay, so we did initially report that when these data cables were cut, apparently around that same time that there was a reported information of the outage of these data sea cables, this ship apparently had slowed down greatly, okay? Went from like, I think around 9 to 11 knots all the way down to about 3 to 5 knots, indicating that it was slowing down in that area where these two cables had crossed each other. And maybe that's the reason why it was slowing down, to target these underwater sea cables and destroy them. So it says here, investigators are now trying to figure out if Russian intelligence officials ordered the cable's destruction, the outlet reports, though Russia has denied wrongdoing. Unnamed sources who spoke to the journal said the ship's owner, Ningbo Yi Peng Shipping, is cooperating with investigators. The journal says several unnamed Western law enforcement and intelligence officials don't believe the Chinese government was part of the suspected scheme. It's not the first time European officials have suspected Russia of undersea infrastructure sabotage since Russia's invasion of Ukraine, but officials have been hesitant to accuse the Kremlin outright of interference, the journal reports, in part of fear of further escalating tensions between Russia and Europe. Okay, so interesting. I mean, will Russia be involved with this? Will NATO be able to prove that Russia was involved in this? I mean, this is obviously very big news, these two underwater data sea cables that are being destroyed. Was it this ship that carried out this attack? Was it deliberate? Was it an accident? Why would they drag their anchor for nearly 100 miles? It doesn't really make sense unless they actually were planning to destroy something under the water. But let me know what you think down below regarding that information. But that is the latest update regarding that story. Now, I also want to jump over to something that we talked about a little bit this morning regarding our update with Russia and Ukraine. Now, we did kind of go over this, but I want to share this once again. Maybe you're not aware of this information if you're just tuning into this video now. And it says, from Megatron Ron breaking, 5 NATO reconnaissance aircraft are operating near the Kaliningrad region. They are probably gathering intel. Okay, so we talked about this morning that 5 NATO surveillance aircraft were circling Kaliningrad, as we can see here. And Kaliningrad is right next to Lithuania. Okay, Lithuania and Sweden have a cable that runs from each other's country. Okay, so is it possible that maybe Kaliningrad had something to do with this? This is Russian territory. Maybe Russia had something to do with this. Maybe they didn't. We don't know all the details yet. Obviously, the investigators are still looking into finding out, whether this was a deliberate action. It looks like they believe that it was deliberate. That this bulk carrier did intentionally drag its anchor under the sea for upwards of 100 miles. So if that's the case and it was deliberate and they're able to pin this back onto Russia, that could be a very bad situation. And maybe that's why NATO is currently monitoring Kaliningrad. Maybe they had something to do with it, as just off the coast of Kaliningrad is where this event took place. Okay, so now briefly, I want to go over this and show you this from Reuters. Russian hybrid attacks may lead to NATO invoking Article 5, says German intel chief. This actually came out today, November 27th, 2024. There's only a couple paragraphs here. It says Russia's extensive use of hybrid measures against Western targets increases the risk that NATO may eventually consider invoking the alliance's Article 5 mutual defense clause, the head of Germany's Foreign Intelligence Service said. Okay, so think about some of the sabotage events that could potentially be related back to Russia. I'm not saying that it is, but let's say that NATO is somehow able to prove that some of these events inside of Europe tie back to Russia. Okay, we've had a lot of air bases inside of Germany, for example, recently in the last few months that went on high alert due to potential drone attacks at some of the bases, even some of the bases that house AWACS surveillance planes. We've also had some reports, I might do a separate report on this later, regarding unidentified drones that are in the skies over some of the military bases in the UK recently. That's been reported a lot over the last week. And then we even had this DHL cargo plane going down that I just reported yesterday. And also some packages at some of the DHL locations where they're loading aircraft that supposedly catching on fire or exploding. And a lot of this could be tied back to Russia, is what investigators are stating. So let's say that even just one of these events are tied back to Russia. Could that invoke Article 5? Let's say Russia has something to do with these underwater sea cables. Is that what he's talking about here? You let me know what you think down below. So it says, speaking at an event of the DGAP think tank in Berlin on Wednesday. This word is a very long word. It's about 14 syllables. I have no idea what that word is. You guys can go ahead and pronounce that for me down in the comment section. But it says Chief Bruno Kahl added, the increasing ramp up of the Russian military means a direct military confrontation with NATO becomes one possible option for the Kremlin. Okay, so this is obviously a big warning as well. I mean, let's say that these data cables link back to Russia being involved and they're able to prove that. Could this invoke Article 5? Would it not? I mean, definitely lots of threats inside of Europe right now. And Europe's obviously worried about going to war with Russia. We know that Russia could potentially be ready for war or preparing for war with NATO as well. And, anything could really happen over here at any moment. Something crazy could happen. And we could have NATO all of a sudden being involved directly in war with Russia. So I just wanted to give you some updates here regarding this Yi Peng 3 Chinese commercial ship that potentially was dragging its anchor for 100 miles below the seabed in the Baltic Sea, potentially destroying these underwater sea cables. So I'm going to wait for more information coming out regarding this. And as soon as we do get more information, I will do another update to let you guys know what's going on over here. But yeah, definitely a crazy situation. Let me know what you think down below. That's going to be it for today's update. If you got something out of this, please smash that like button. Also, if you enjoy my content, please consider subscribing down below. Hit the notification bell. That way YouTube can notify you. And with that, hope you all have a great day. Everybody take care and God bless. And we'll see you in the next one.